This song always reminds me of my friend Roy Braswell, my best friend in high school and my first college roommate. He died a few years ago from a cerebral aneurysm, which sucks. But we were in college at Texas A&M in Galveston, and bored as all get out. So freaking Roy whips out this map, because there were no cell phones, right? You had to use like a paper map, and said, we're going on a trip. And I'm like, dude, we can't afford to go on a trip. He goes, don't worry about it, man, I got an idea. And I was like, oh shit, Roy's got an idea. This usually leads to fun, adventure, and occasionally trouble. So he gets out a map and a pencil and a paper, and he said, and he's all hunkered down over the map, and he goes, we're going to New Orleans. And I'm like, what? He goes, we're going to New Orleans. I had a 1971 Volkswagen Bug, and Roy had a much later model Jeep, but there was some issue with it. The tires were bald, or wouldn't start or something, I don't remember. And I said, and how are we getting to New Orleans? And he said, we're gonna hitchhike. And I'm like, dude. And he goes, no, don't worry about it. He goes, see, I checked it all out on the map. It's about an 8-hour drive if you drive straight from Galveston to New Orleans. He goes, we can make it, you know, even if you double it, we'll make it in 16 hours. I said, yeah, but you got to get back. He goes, don't worry about it, man. We're going to New Orleans. So we went, and we hitchhiked. And on the way to New Orleans from Galveston, Texas, we got this ride with a trucker right outside of Houston, on the east side of Houston. And this dude was wired out of his mind on speed, right? I mean, he'd probably been up for a week. He's like, yeah, come on in. He opens up this big jar of black mollies, these speed pills. And he goes, you want some? And we're like, no, we'll pass. But he hauled us 95% of the way to New Orleans. And it's an 8-hour drive. And from the time we left Galveston, we were in a park in New Orleans at 3 o'clock in the morning, 10 hours later. So that's some really good time if you're hitchhiking. But so we took a nap on these park benches by the Mississippi River. And I woke up because something was poking me in the back. And I'm like, what the hell is poking me in the back? And it was a cop with his nightstick jabbing me in the back. And I woke up and I look, and Roy is spread-eagled on the other park bench. A cop's frisking him. And the cop's like, you know, what's the story? Why are you here? And we said, well, we're college kids. We hitchhiked from Galveston. And they said, yeah, you can't do that, man. We're going to give you a ride. I'm like, to Galveston? And the cop said, no, to the city limits. And they did. They literally put us in a police car and took us to right to the city limit sign in New Orleans and said, get out, go back to Galveston, and don't ever come back to New Orleans. Well, I've been back several times, of course. I don't know if Roy ever made it back or not. I can't talk about Roy because it makes me sad. But what a great trip. We got into New Orleans at like I said, at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we went down to Bourbon Street, which it was probably a Friday night, Saturday morning. Maybe we left on Thursday and skipped class on Friday. That's highly likely. But anyway, even at 3 a.m., Bourbon Street was, you know, it was Bourbon Street. And we did what college kids would do on Bourbon Street. And that's when then we went back to that park for a nap and got thrown out of the town. It took us almost 3 days to get back to Galveston because we didn't get any rides from any long haul truckers. We did get a ride though from this Cadillac pulls over, and there was this old I think he was Creole, Cajun to the core guy, you know, with a big bottle of vodka on his front seat. His name was Chicken George. All right, that's what he called himself. He had a kid with him that looked like he was 16. I don't know the story. Chicken George was like 105. But he took us a long way. He was very entertaining. But he just got drunker and drunker as the drive went on. So Roy and I actually asked. We said, yeah, we'll just get off here and grab some food. Because even back in 1979, you know, back in 1979, drunk driving wasn't as publicized as it is these days. But you knew better than to drive with somebody, you know, hammering vodka straight out of the bottle. But I don't know, we got a ton of rides back. You know, some of them were just for a couple of miles. We walked most of the way through Houston because hitchhiking in a major city, you just don't get picked up. But we made it back, and we made it back alive. So, you know, there's the adventure story. I wish Roy was still here. But what a great dude. One of the best architects on the planet. He was actually quite renowned in the San Antonio area. He designed a house for David Robinson of the Spurs. It had a bunch of, he designed some nice freaking houses. He sent me a coffee table book one time of Texas architecture, and he had, I don't know, 5 or 6 of his houses were in that book, which still sits proudly, not on my coffee table, but right next to it. And so there you have it.